In this video, I fight my way through several grueling, intense Swiss rounds of high-level Pokémon as I attempt to claw my way to the top in order to hopefully call myself the unofficial Pokémon World Champion. If you like the video, make sure to like it, be sure to subscribe if you're new here, and leave a comment if you want to see more videos like this. In place of the 2020 World Championships, which was cancelled for obvious public safety reasons, another tournament became the popular online alternative. The POG Championships, with over 600 players attending, would come to replace it. Not organized by the official Pokemon Company, it would be the only large-scale tournament to use the Ultra Prism through Darkness Ablaze format, the format that was going to be used in the 2020 World Championships if it was to take place this year. My training began immediately. I began studying the Japanese meta of the previous months, seeing as the new cards would have already been released and seen play months in advance in Japan. The Japanese national tournament, with over 200 attendees, was held over webcam and had some interesting results. In a format with Eternatus, Centiskorch, ADP, Zacian, Control, Mill, the top deck was Vikavolt V. The finals of the Japanese National Championship was a mirror match between two Vikavolt V item lock decks. This is known as Shock Lock. That's right, for those of you who played Yu-Gi-Oh! In the 2013 era may remember the wrath of Shockmaster. A monster that would crumble an opponent's dream of ever setting anything up and stun them to death as they are slowly beaten by the unbreakable Shock Lock board. This was that, but for Pokemon, and like 10 times cuter. Vikavolt V had the ability to shut off your opponent's items every turn in addition to doing 50 base damage, and can also take huge one-hit KOs with the second attack, Super Zap Cannon. This was the winning list of the Japanese Nationals, and I was struck by both how simple the list was and how aggressive an item lock deck could be. Over the course of my testing, I became increasingly more impressed with how powerful the deck was. The YouTube commenters on the video of the Japanese National also seemed to think the deck was good, and so I dedicated myself in the weeks leading up to the tournament to understand the deck and its matchups as best I could. I tried lots of variants, including the version with Research and Turbo Patch, but found the Guzhala build to be the most consistent in terms of pulling off the item lock on turn 1. I really thought that the list that won the Japanese Nationals was as close to perfect as I could get, as I tested a variety of builds with Crobat, Acrobike, Mareep, Yellhorns, Hammers, and other techs, but I kept returning to the original tournament winning list as it seemed the most consistent, to leave out all of that extra stuff and just focus on getting that lock. I did make one change to the final list I ended up playing in the tournament, and that was the inclusion of an Electric Swamp Elektross, which I dropped a switch for. This was a tech against my worst matchup, Decidueye, which I expected to see a lot of in the tournament. It was Shufflum who suggested the Eelektross as an anti-Decidueye tech, so big shout out to him for telling me about a card that would help me in my worst matchup. I did a lot of testing with the deck, and was confident against ADP, Centiskorch, and Eternatus, which is what I expected to be facing most of the tournament. The format was best of one with public deck lists. I hoped that item lock would be successful in this format, although I could be punished for prizing one of my Prism Star cards, Coco and Thunder Mountain. I still felt that the decks facing item lock could be punished harder for being locked out of items and prizing their one copy of Birdkeeper. I made sure to get a good night's sleep the day before, as I dreamed of all the Pokemons to come.
Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this.
The tournament was delayed by an hour, which led to some quality shitposting in the Discord server. After an hour and a half of waiting, the bot was repaired and the tournament was underway. Part 1. A bad start. I rushed to open my round 1 opponent's deck list when I was met with horror. Decidueye, my worst matchup, was the first deck I would be facing. I tried not to panic as I remembered the plan I had laid out for myself. My opponent chose to go first, which was good for me, and was also playing the 50 HP Rowlet instead of the earlier released 60 HP Rowlet, which was also good for me. It meant I was able to knock out a Rowlet with Paralyzing Bolt without needing the Electro Power, and item locking my opponent in the process. After playing a Guzhala, I look at the prizes in my deck and realize that both Thunder Mountain and Tapu Koko Prism Star are prized. This is very bad and means no turn 1 item lock. My primary plan of preventing a Decidueye from entering play is not possible, so I have to go into my secondary plan of using the Eelektross to knock out Decidueye. It takes me 4 turns to attach all the energy before I'm finally able to get it out, but when I do, I'm able to knock out a Decidueye with ease. By the time I get out the Eelektross, though, I am unable to keep up with the prize trade, and I'm far enough behind to where recovery is not possible. I was able to stall with item lock for quite a bit longer than expected, but I lose to boss's orders that sealed the deal as a loss for me. I reflect on my loss in sadness while playing creative Minecraft to calm myself in order to enter the next round with a fresh mind. How is everybody doing? Everyone okay? Just want to check in with everyone. Make sure we're all happy and fed. Oh, pairings up, pairings up. Save and quit. Turn the music off. Oh my god, music off. Time to focus. Pog Championships. The next round was against the only deck more terrifying than Decidueye. Oh my... Jeez. We're playing against Chinchino Mill. Okay. No, this is control. This is like control. Shock lock. Okay. Match timers are enabled. Let's go. I decide to start the game as aggressively as possible by knocking out the Articuno as quickly as I can. I item locked them on the first turn and began taking a quick succession of prizes, although I did wish I'd boss up Chinchino earlier in the game. Once they're able to get through a sizable portion of their deck, they're able to play the anti-item lock supporter, Channeler. They then proceeded to hit a huge number of heads on crushing hammers and leave me energyless and at the mercy of their control. I get to the point where I need to take 2 prizes on a Zacian to win. But with only 3 energy in deck, I needed to draw all 3 of them consecutively and hope they aren't milled. Unfortunately, 3 turns is way too long to ask for against mill, and after 1, my energy is milled. My hopes of winning are extinguished. Instead of giving my opponent the satisfaction of milling me to death, I decide to Dedenne myself into the Shadow Realm so as to not give them the satisfaction. At this point, I am incredibly salty, but I can't let the salt get to me, so I decide to refocus my mind by continuing to build on my creative Minecraft world while I relax myself for the next round. Part 2, we start coming back. Round 3 begins, and I'm against ADP, which I'm happy about, since I can finally play against a deck I have a confident matchup in. The game starts off great, as I am able to go second, play Guzmahala to get the pieces I need, capture energy for the Marshadow to remove the Chaotic Swell, then play the Thunder Mountain and retreat the Oricorio with the escape board to get the item lock on the first turn. They quickly pass to me, and I'm able to knock out the Zacian on my second turn, putting me ahead by 2 prizes very early in the game. I was able to keep this strong tempo for the entirety of the game. They were playing Stunfisk, hoping I would just mindlessly smack into it, but I was able to boss around it and keep them item locked without allowing their Stunfisk to stun me. I was able to stun them with item lock in a far more effective manner, seeing as their list did not play Bird Keeper. It was easy for me to boss up a Dedenne and item lock them in place. After knocking out the electric mouse, I aim for the second mouse on the bench and take the remainder of my prizes. This win gave me the motivation I needed to carry on to the 4th round. I needed 6 more wins from here to qualify for day 2, and boy was I ready. Part 3, the crash. It is at this point in the video that I should tell you I had been having internet connectivity errors the night before, so I was incredibly stressed that it may happen during the tournament. My round 4 opponent sent me a friend request right away, and I jumped into the match ready to play without even looking at my opponent's deck list. Rookie mistake. Lucky for me, they start with a Slowpoke and pass. I'm going second, meaning I can attack, and I have 2 cards I need in my hand to win. Guzhala to find the cards I need to attack, and Electro Power to knock them out. I'm able to donk my opponent for the win seconds before my internet goes out. and the game, as well as my stream, crashes. I cannot explain how lucky I was to have that happen when it did. If I was not able to donk that Slowpoke in the first turn, then I would have lost connection in the middle of my game and lost due to disconnection. This was my only internet crash during the tournament, and I was incredibly lucky that it happened when it did, during the one game where I pulled off a successful donk. Once we get back online, I spent some time watching Star Wars YouTube poops while waiting for the next round.
Time to abandon all games.
R2, activate elevator music. Hold on. I need to get drunk and unconscious on my back. Hold on. This whole idea was your idea. Let us not forget, Anakin, that you rescued me from Buzz Lightyear, and you killed Count Dooku, and you killed me, and you killed the Chancellor, and you killed the politicians, and you rescued Grievous, carrying the General unconscious on your back.
All right. Well, you owe me one.
This is a
Not
good
for saving your skin
meme
for the
con-
10th
This is a
time.
good like meme
Ninth
video.
time.
10th time.
9th time.
10th time.
Anakin, let's be fair.
10th time.
9th,
10th.
9th,
10th.
9th.
10th.
I'll see you at the briefing.
10th time.
It's over, Anakin!
My next game was against Centiskorch, a matchup I was pretty confident in as I had practiced against it a lot. My opponent chooses to go second, which both benefits them and punishes me, as I can't turn one item lock and they are able to play a supporter and accelerate energy quickly with Volcanion. My plan for this game is to knock out the Volcanion, a Centiskorch VMAX, and a bench 2-prizer. I'm able to knock out the Volcanion in 2 hits with Paralyzing Bolt while item locking them, which stops them from setting up more Pokemon on the bench. They are able to build up a Centiskorch VMAX with a ton of energy, which I smack into with a huge Super Zap Cannon. After 2 hits though, the Centiskorch goes down and I am protected from the next one with a strategically placed Giant Bomb. I am then able to close out the game by bossing up a Crobat and knocking it out with Super Zap Cannon. GG's all around. While basking in the glory of my win, I enjoy more Star Wars memes while waiting for the next pairing.
He was too dangerous to be dangerous.
I shouldn't have done that. It's not the Jedi way.
It is only natural. He stole your sand. You wanted revenge. It
He
wasn't
stole
the
your
first time,
sand.
Anakin. Remember what you told me about your mother? Your mother cut off your arm and sold your arm to the sand people. Remember what you told me about Master Windu?
You Skywalker.
Round 5 was against a Pikarom deck that was playing 2 Vikavolt. This was a difficult matchup seeing as Pikarom could get energy into play far faster than me. This was by far the most difficult and intense game of the entire tournament. My opponent wins the coin flip and forces me to go first, which gives them a huge advantage. This puts me in a position where even if I am able to item lock them on my second turn, I will still get hit with a full blitz, putting me behind in energy and in danger of a Tagbolt GX. I try to knock out a Jirachi on my first turn by spending an Electro Power and then playing Dedenne, but I whiff the item lock and force to pass with a wasted Electro Power. It is here that they full blitz, putting themselves ahead in tempo. The Pikarom and the Alolan Raichu are now threats. I use Marshadow to get rid of the Thunder Mountain, and then boss up a Boltund in order to attempt to stall an item lock, but they are able to find another energy to electrify and speed their energy attachment up even more. I'm able to knock out a Boltund, putting me on track to win by taking a 2-2-2 line of prizes. However, in retrospect, I wish I had went for the KO on the 3 prizers, as I would have had a better time eliminating their attackers. At this point, I'm regretting bringing up the Boltund. Even though I'm going to knock it out with a succession of paralyzing bolts, I'm in danger of being hit by Tagbolt GX, taking out my Vikavolt and Dedenne in one turn. Luckily, my opponent whiffs the Electro Power, so they are unable to knock out my Vikavolt and only take out my Dedenne, while leaving my active Vikavolt with only 10 HP. I look to recover from this spot as best I can, as their bench Vikavolt looks like a looming threat that could beat me by locking me out of items. I decide to boss it up and knock it out, putting me at 2 prizes, and giving me the win next turn against their bench Dedenne, providing they can't disrupt me. However, they are able to disrupt me, indeed, by reset stamping me to 2 and putting an air balloon on their bench Dedenne so I can't boss it up and item lock to trap it. That stamp was brutal and what lost me the game, and I was not able to take the game-winning knockout against the bench Dedenne without the boss that was taken from my hand. And by paralyzing my active Raichu, there was no option for me other than passing. My opponent claimed their well-deserved victory by knocking out my Raichu and taking their remaining prizes. Well played indeed. Part 4, on the bubble. By this point, after having racked up 3 losses, I was on the infamous bubble. I needed to win the next 5 games in order to move on to day 2, as a single loss would eliminate me from the competition. The stakes were higher than they've ever been, and so were my nerves going into the next match. My next game was against Mad Party, a deck that Vikavolt has a very good matchup against, and a deck that I've never lost to while playing Item Lock. I did not intend for this to be the first time. My opponent smartly forces us to go first, where I use Guzhala to find the pieces to the item lock, as I set up for next turn, and then pass. In order to beat me, they need to get a lot of partiers in the discard pile in order to knock out my Vikavolt in one hit. On their turn, they're able to discard a lot out of their hand and cycle through their deck fairly deep. However, they aren't able to get the minimum of 11 partiers they need in the discard to take those consistent KOs. My opponent's Mad Party deck was fairly unique, however, in that it used Roxy and Weezing to get spread damage as well as discard Pokemon, which I thought was a neat way of increasing numbers and discarding. It was not enough for them to knock out the bulky Vikavolts, however, and I was able to consistently knock out their partiers while item locking them at the same time. This put me at 4 wins and 3 losses, and more ready than ever to take on my next opponent. I breathe a sigh of relief as I see what deck my next opponent is playing. ADP. I have already beaten one ADP deck today, so what's one more? I'm on the bubble, so I'm taking it one game at a time. Each of these matches are the most important matches of my life. They win the coin flip and force me to go first because they seem to know what they're up against, and I make the most of my first turn by finding the pieces of my lock, retreating into a Jirachi and passing. I'm hoping to all that is holy that they do not pull off a turn 1 Altered Creation GX. Lo and behold, after digging through half their deck, they are able to pull off a turn 1 Altered Creation, which puts me in a really awkward spot. They just need to knock out 2 of my Vikavolts to take the game, while I need to knock out 3 of their 2 prizers in order to win. Although it's still not impossible for me at this point, I boss trap a Dedenne and then item lock after using Reset Stamp, which stalls for a couple turns so that I can catch up in the prize trade. However, devastatingly, I realized that I misplayed a couple of turns ago by attaching a Toughness Cape to my Vika turn 1 when I should have waited for Giant Bomb, as Toughness Cape does not prevent a Zacian KO after Altered Creation. When attacking the locked Dedenne, I made the horrible mistake of missing an energy attachment, which was a brutal misplay that made the time I bought for myself with the lock worthless, as I wasn't speeding up my energy attachment at all. Luckily, my opponent also made a mistake of attacking with Ultimate Ray instead of just smacking with a Zacian, so I still had another turn to hopefully draw a boss and bring myself in range of a win. I was able to tank a hit and knock out Zacian with Raichu, which led me to a turn where I had to hope for no boss in order to score the victory. But my opponent had drawn Eldegoss V off of the Marnie, allowing them to boss me for game. GG to our opponent, but this was the end for me. My dreams have been crushed and the pieces set ablaze. I've been eliminated from the tournament. It took me a full day to recover from the pain and grief. However, I learned from watching anime that I need to use this as motivation to become even stronger. Conclusion. I had a lot of fun playing in this event. Item lock proved to be very consistent, and even though I suffered some unfortunate games, I did learn a lot in this tournament. I wish I tested more against Control and Mill as well as Pikarom, so I'll be sure to get a wider breadth of testing for the next tournament. I didn't face a single Eternatus all day, which is a shame considering I was ready to crush that deck. But that's Pokemon. You never know what you're going to be up against. All you can do is prepare as best you can. Even though I didn't become the unofficial Pokemon World Champion, that isn't to say I won't next year. This is the start of my anime protagonist arc, and you better believe the grind has only started. Anyway, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, as well as leaving a comment on what you thought and your Pog experience if you played in it. I'd love to hear some of your stories. If you don't know, I stream on Twitch 5 days a week, so be sure to follow my stream in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.